This is in the 16th century, this beautiful tapestry.
That was really heady for the time.
Which is, yeah, it's incredible. But to them, it's like, this is normal. Because they were a loving couple, they were involved in a sacred marriage, and this was just how they portrayed that union. So I'm okay with it.
And a lot of these Gnostic texts, like the Gospel of Philip and
absolutely.
stuff, mention.
Yeah.
But the word, I believe it refers to Mary Magdalene as a maid, but that same word could mean wife. Is it
Well, the word that
accurate?
I've seen in the Gospel of Philip is the word companion. And what companion meant was wife.
Yeah.
Today we think of a companion as a friend or something like that, but to them it was more of a wife. And you mentioned the Gospel of Philip. That's another excellent source text in terms of talking about this belief about perfecting the body over and over again. Not only does the Gospel of Philip talk about Mary Magdalene as the companion and the one that was closest to Jesus and who received his secrets, but that these secrets are about how to transfigure this body into light. There is not a single, not one Christian church anywhere on this planet that I know of that will teach you, Tony, how to transfigure that mortal coil into light.
Right.
But that was the whole business that Jesus and the disciples were all about. How come they don't teach that?
Right.
How come they don't teach that they were married? What are they trying to keep from us? Was there a switch, as so many of the Gnostic Gospels suggested, that there are rulers who change the names and who change the stories, and the good guys became the bad guys?
I wonder why there's so much resistance to Jesus being married or having children, or I mean, it doesn't make him any less divine or godlike in my eyes. But
not in mine either, but it does to some people, because it just doesn't.
Because it's too human.
Too human, right?
And
exactly.
we want to keep him up there on a pedestal.
Yeah, and to me, the whole thing is it's a ruse. I mean, it's like it forces you down a rabbit hole that you can just spend a lot of time, energy, and emotion focusing on.
Right.
When what you really want to be focused on is, what do I do with this? Why am I in this body? And how do I make the most out of this time that I have in the body? Why did I incarnate at this time?
Right.
What am I here to learn? What is possible for me? And that's, to me, where you want to really be focusing.
And one of the main things Jesus was teaching is that all the things I'm doing, you can do it too.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it.
I said, ye are gods.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Right, he was quoting David as saying, ye are gods, right?
One of the most profound statements that got me on this research quest was in the Pistis Sophia, in answer to a question posed by Mary Magdalene. Jesus says, stay not your hand until you find the cleansing mysteries that will transform you into a being of pure light so that you can inherit the light of my kingdom. Boom. That's it. That doesn't say anything about going to church and listen to some priest telling you whatever he wants to tell you. It's about find these mysteries, find these secrets. Don't do anything but that. You know, turn off the O'Reilly jazz, turn off all the other crap that people are feeding you, because all that's doing is feeding you like a mushroom, keeping you in the dark and throwing a bunch of crap on top of you. I mean, these people were, in my opinion, they were almost just, we would think of them a bunch of wackos today. They were so intense. But look, they had access to the Library of Alexandria with over 300,000 volumes in it. Many of them, we are told, from the time before the flood. They sent people to Egypt, to Iran, to Iraq, to India. They were serious about finding this very specific body of knowledge about how to transform themselves into light and become one of these light beings that they read about in the books of Enoch and other stories. They said that's what it's all about.
What's the oldest ancient evidence you found for the existence of modern humans or modern technology that would require some advanced intelligent beings?
The clearest example, the one that everybody can practically universally agree on when they see it, are the tubes at Dendera in Egypt. This temple, Dendera, the name means house of bread, which is interesting because there's a New Testament word that means house of bread that nobody seems to know exactly where that was, and that New Testament place name is called Bethlehem, where Christ was born. Well, at Dendera, what you find there are these incredible light tubes. Anybody looking at them can say that you're looking at either an electrical device or possibly even a cathode ray tube, which is the forerunner, which is exactly actually what our computer screens are. And so when you're looking at this device there at Dendera in the crypt there, in a temple that was brand new at the time of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and now the crypt is much older, but that temple was brand new at the time Jesus and Mary Magdalene were there. You have to ask, what are we talking about here when we're talking about the light being born at this place? Is it in fact a possibility that the light we're talking about is like electricity? That this is one of the earliest examples of and clearest examples of this technology. What's interesting about it too, Tony, is that when you look real closely at the beings that are operating these tubes at Dendera, the light tubes, they have like a second skin, just about an inch projecting off of their body. And that's exactly the way people describe the human aura or the light body, is that it's about an inch above our existing body. And so what you're seeing there is, in addition to these electrical devices, is that the beings that are operating them are either the very first and one and only example of the ancient Egyptians showing something in 3D, or what it's showing is that these are in fact perhaps like light beings or plasma beings that are operating these devices. And the reason I say that is because when William Crookes invented the Crookes tube at the turn of the 20th century, which led to the discovery of X-rays and also of plasma, what he said is that these devices will lead to the creation of light beings.
Now, you're a regular guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, and you were on a panel that were discussing the Davinci Code and the possible marriage of Jesus and Mary. Did you get any kind of flack about that with the whole Davinci Code thing? Was there any kind of death threats or anything that ever happened?
No. I mean, that was such a worldwide phenomenon that you just, I think it just, they didn't know who to attack, really. I mean, it's like, what are they going to wipe out everybody? I mean, that's what the church did in southern France when they were talking about Jesus and Mary Magdalene, is they sent 30,000 stormtroopers into southern France and exterminated as many as 1 million men, women, and children. It was the first European Holocaust, the first genocide, which the Catholic Church has yet to apologize for doing. I mean, they talk about Hitler, they talk about everything else and the atrocities during World War II, but nobody seems to really want to go back to the 13th century in France when the Catholic Church murdered 1 million people to keep a specific secret, and that's what was in the Davinci Code.
And that was the Holy Grail, right?
And that is the Holy Grail, that's right.
Well, we'll have to save that one for another show, because I think we're just about out of time.
Okay.
I want to thank you for being our guest on Mystery Us, William Henry.
Thank you.